didn't like it.
Able to go.
Oh, to see outside. It's funny, did you see, I don't know if you've been over to the parking lot. Did you see the no
It's
parking?
not affecting anything.
They put up.
Okay, the camera.
And I did get
Oh,
all
you'll,
my
oh, you see it, like, coming in now, because people were parking
But I
back.
guess that's because of the clouds again.
Not on my
Maybe.
glass, why I'm missing was at the top of the hill.
I'm really trying to
So
do
there's
some
cars parked all
Yeah.
along the grass going into the highlands. So now there's signs all along that says no parking.
Well, we parked on the grass for they said no to some cars, because there was.
Right, it's tradition. Right.
It's
Oh.
4 o'clock, call the meeting to order.
Look.
Roll call,
Dave Reeser,
here.
Jana Barnett. Here. Mary Ann Reardon.
Here.
Eric Donahue.
Here.
Keith Dirk.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment?
Oh, I'll have some. Just quickly, first, I'd like to protest once again the fact that the various quotes were not made public before the meeting, such that the public is informed and can make pertinent comments. I speak today against recommending an increase in residential collection rate for refuse, recycling, and yard waste, herein referred as waste. And against awarding the recycling contract to JP Mascaro for the reasons listed below. So for rate increase, just like taxes, utilities and waste bring up the cost of living for residents. Wyomissing has an especially wide variety of income levels. A rate increase would disproportionately affect lower income households, who are the ones that contribute the least to the tonnage of hauled material. A simple drive around the various neighborhoods during trash collection days shows the stark discrepancy between the size and amount of containers found in front of expensive properties as opposed to the least expensive ones. Same goes for the amount of leaves and yard waste. An increase in waste rate would be nothing but a subsidy of the rich by the poor. There are many ways to at least alleviate the unjust charges. One example, and this is just an example, is what many communities around the world use, and that is to charge per container. Such method would especially be suitable for Wyomissing due to the wide gap in property value and size, which corresponds to the output of waste. Again, I think the special case for Wyomissing is we have this wide gap. Other communities may not have it, and then absolutely it makes perfect sense to have a flat rate for everybody. But in our case is especially a good opportunity to alleviate this unfairness. So I urge this committee to look harder and find a more equitable method to finance the cost of waste removal, in which the households that consume more pay their fair share. A simple rate increase across the board is not the answer. In what concerns JP Mascaro, there are several reasons that speak against rewarding JP Mascaro the contract. One, there is plenty of pertinent research available, and I'm underlining pertinent research, not opinions or beliefs, research, which shows that while the single stream recycling is more expensive per ton of processed material, it results in higher contamination and therefore higher residual rates. That means more stuff going to the trash, to the landfill, primarily due to the glass breakage and unrinsed containers. In other words, Wyomissing residents would pay more to get less material recycled. Number two, total lack of transparency from JP Mascaro. Their trucks are equipped with compactors, which compress the recyclables. Logic dictates that this process produces a huge blob of commingled materials, in which the density of the various containers just gets homogenized, because we know that those sorting machines go by density. Once you clump everything together, that density is just, you can't do that anymore. I lost my word. This disappears. Therefore, it becomes harder to separate by machines. JP Mascara does not allow the public to see for themselves this miraculous process, miraculous in quotes, that they claim to employ. This lack of transparency may result in diminished public confidence, since more recyclables appear to be destined for landfill disposal because of contamination or inability to market the materials. And number 3, JP Mascara's operators continue to leave empty cans in the throughway, causing traffic hazards and potential property damage. This practice continues despite being extensively reported and documented in board meetings. Anyone driving after the trucks can see how they leave their cans on the road instead of placing them in the right way. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Any other public comments?
It's rained on.
Good evening, I'm not sure what your format is, I'm Al DeGennaro, I'm Deputy General Counsel with JP Mascara Sons, I have Sam Augustine. I know we'd like to make a few comments to you, whether the appropriate time is now or later, I defer to you.
Let's open no?
Public comment's not a Q&A. It's for the public who are
Oh, right,
residents
comments,
and
right.
taxpayers to publicly comment on the topics on the agenda.
Do you have questions, you said?
But he's not a resident, not a taxpayer, so he should not be
Oh, I
commenting under
see.
public comment.
Okay.
Some other time on the agenda?
I mean, I guess under discussing the bids.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should, so are you, I'm not, am I allowed to ask him?
With the,
So are you have a prepared that is in conjunction with the bids from the upcoming contract? Or,
Yeah, excuse me, I'm Sam Augustine, I'm Director of Sales.
I'm just trying to get you so I figure out where to put you
Put your
here.
name.
Yeah, obviously, we've been your hauler for the recycling for many, many years, and we've appreciated your business. Al did mention we have our general manager here today, we have our operations manager here today. This is Mike Guido and Jose Martinez, okay? And Al is our Deputy General Counsel for the company, and I'm the Director of Sales.
Okay.
We obviously have unbelievable knowledge to bring to this meeting today. So at some point at the meeting when you feel comfortable, we will definitely make a presentation.
Okay, so hold on. So
Okay.
why don't we amend the agenda? Why don't we amend the agenda to include discussion on the upcoming contract as it relates to awarding the contracts? And since one of the participants that submitted a bid for the contract is here, allow them to speak on behalf of the contract.
I don't think you need to amend the agenda, because under number 4, it says discuss the bids received for refuse recycling and yard waste. I think you can have that discussion under that agenda item.
Before
So-
yes.
We don't have to amend the agenda to do that. And then we just allow them to
Speak.
speak.
Speak at the beginning of the.
Okay, yeah, as long as that's okay with Chris. Chris, you all right with
It's
that?
okay. It's okay.
Chris isn't here, is Chris coming?
No, Kristen doesn't normally come to this.
Okay.
Any other public comment? That there being
no more
none, we
public.
will move on to number 4. Discuss the bids received for refuse recycling and yard waste. Now's probably an appropriate time.
Yeah, I would,
Yeah.
You gentlemen,
Can
to
Michelle
speak.
give us an overview?
Yeah, with that, we wanted
Can
to,
Michelle give us an overview of a bill to proceed?
Okay. I mean,
Anything more than
it's a pretty short summary, which is we only received 2 bids. JP Mascara was the low bidder.
If you need something, some other information after this, but it's
yeah.
pretty extensive what's involved.
But I'm just gonna give you a handout
Yeah, that's the
here.
I got a couple of them.
Usually Michelle.
Yeah, you've been on council for quite some time.
I don't, so I don't know if any of those things are pertinent to discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Are you the borough manager?
Yes.
Marty hasn't been here for a long time.
Your name is?
Michelle.
Michelle. Okay, go ahead.
So while you're taking a look at that, I'm gonna say a few things, then I'm gonna let Sam Augustine address the particulars. I've been with the company 31 years, so while I'm deputy general counsel, I'm a lawyer by trade. I'm involved as much in our municipal bidding and things like that, so sometimes I can't help talking like a lawyer, but I'm not really here as a lawyer. I'm here in terms of this bid presentation, because everything that we submit gets reviewed by either me or my colleague. As you know, I don't know how many years we've had this contract. I know we've been privileged to serve the borough for a number of years, and obviously this contract you have now was awarded, I think, 5 years ago. And certainly these costs, at first glance, look like they're sticker shock to you, because the market and our industry has changed. Putting aside all the other factors that you see every day, fuel, gas, all those things, these are terribly challenging times in the industry for a number of reasons. The labor force is still a challenge. The equipment, if we order a truck, it takes us a year and a half to get to the piece of equipment. The parts, it takes us months to get parts. Just to give you an idea, I was in another borough and I had my accountant give me the information. Just 3 years ago, not when this bid went out 5 years ago, but 3 years ago, since then, interest has gone up 70%. You obviously follow what's going on in the economy, the Fed keeps raising. That affects our borrowing power. Our wages have gone up 60% in the last 3 years, primarily because when the pandemic hit, it was such a challenge that to keep our employees and to continue to attract good employees, we had to stay competitive as best we could, and so our wages went up 60%. Our truck equipment expenses have gone up 20%. Fuel has gone through the roof. It was 75%. They have come down somewhat, 10 to 15%, but it's still way above what it was 3 and 5 years ago. As I said, our parts and our repairs, the processing cost, before you were getting money under your recyclables, because 5 years ago there was a value to this, and the China sword, as they call it, about 3 years ago, China stopped taking recyclables international. They closed a big market for recyclables under the guise that they quote were too contaminated. Some of us have our own view on that. I think the China economy, as it's being shown to be the case now, was really an indication that they didn't need these raw materials as much as they did previously, and they just shut the door on recyclables. I didn't hear the gentleman make his comments about J.P. Mascara Sons, other than I heard the word transparency. Well, first of all, let me tell you about recycling. Our company invested $20 million on a recycling plant right down the road. It's not only the state of the art, it's probably the most technologically advanced processing facility that there is in the country right now. And I can assure you that other than the contaminants in your recyclables, there's not an ounce of your recyclables that doesn't go through that recycling facility and get processed and reused. We sell those raw. If any of you haven't seen this plant, I hope we're on the contract for a while. I'd like you to come and see it. It's amazing. It's fully automated. The only reason why we have manual labor there is to pull out the stuff that the people aren't supposed to be putting in. You'd be surprised when people put in recycling. I've been there and seen a bowling ball. I've seen garden hoses. There's chains. All those things damage the machines. So those people that we have on the lines are there to pull out the materials. Otherwise, it's 100% automated, and everything gets dumped. Single stream means everything. We take plastics 1 through 7. We take everything else. And if you saw how it comes out, it's baled, cardboard, mixed papers, aluminum, plastic. Those recyclables, I heard the word landfill, those recyclables do not go to a landfill. They get sold to brokers, sold to third parties, sent internationally. We're shipping hundreds of tons out every week. We take almost up to, I don't know if up to 700 tons. Our facility can accept up to 700 tons. So I can assure you that your recyclables that are put on the curb are recycled. I know there's this misnomer out there, and it may be with some other companies and it may be other parts of the country, but I can assure you, in Wyomissing Borough, in every community we service, we didn't spend that kind of money to not process the recyclables.
That comment has come up on several occasions,
Yeah.
very public comment. Do you have any kind of documentation or verification or something that you could provide to us that could dispel that so we can
Sure.
stop talking about it?
Absolutely, we have tonnage records. I'm sure our records that show what we collect in the township, in the borough, that if, oftentimes the specs, to be honest, I'm not sure what our reporting requirements are with you. But, you know, not only can we tell you what we collect here, we can tell you to some extent how much of it's processed and what the contamination factor is, meaning is there 5 or 7 or 8% or 10%? Now, during the pandemic, the contamination rate went higher. More people were home, more people were generating more trash, more people were generating more recyclables. They weren't being careful about it, but absolutely, you could be provided with that.
Something at a very macro level.
Yeah,
not-
macro level.
Not detailed, but
Yeah.
something that, when that subject comes up,
You have the ammunition to say, no, that's not accurate. because-
it's just that we have an assurance from the supplier, you,
Sure.
that that's not the case,
Right.
and this is the verification of that.
We had a letter when this accusation was made before, and, which at that time was proven unsubstantiated. We had a letter, it doesn't hurt to have an up-to-date one,
Sure.
but at the time, 90% of all materials were being recycled.
Right, which would be probably, Sam knows better than numbers, but that's about a 10% contamination rate, because sometimes people put stuff in there that shouldn't be in there, and you gotta pull it out, and there's a factor, but absolutely, and look, Mike Guido's here, he's the general manager, I'm sure we can give you numbers every month to show you what your recyclable.
Broad.
Yeah, just the general numbers, if he doesn't already do it, but, look, that's my pitch, I want Sam to talk more about, the handouts he gave you, which shows our price, which shows what's happening in our industry, that you're not unique, that prices have gone up everywhere, because everything's going up, as you see when you, conduct your everyday lives, whether it's at home or at work. And, Sam, why don't you come up and talk about
Sure.
a couple of these handouts, and, you know, we'll answer any questions, but we wanna just give you knowledge, because obviously it's a big decision to make this, and we appreciate that, and really, you know, you got 2 bids. You got a bid from the largest national company in the world, and our company, and we're pleased with a low bid, look forward to getting the award after you digest this and do your due diligence.
The first thing I wanted to say is again, we've appreciated your business over many years. We've had the, let me stand down here. So you can turn. We've had the recycling business, since 2000, since I believe it's 2011. So we've had the recycling business here for the last 11 years. And before that, we had the trash business going back, I guess, to 2009, 10, and 11. So you're completely familiar with Mascaro. You're completely familiar with, you've gone to our landfill, of course, with the trash for a number of years because it's under that contract that you have with the Pioneer Crossing landfill. So we've been part of the mix here for many years. The biggest concern that the borough should have is the unbelievable escalation in price. The price has gone up drastically since the last bid. The last bid was actually not 3 years ago. The last bid was 5 years ago because you had 3 years with 2 one-year extensions, which you accepted. And the last bid over the past, on our end, believe me, over the past 3 years, we haven't made, I mean, you can see by the bid, we haven't made any money. We've lost money on the collection of the trash and recyclables here. With the pandemic, everything is turned upside down, well, not just in the trash industry, but with completely in the general economy, with the transportation industry. As you know, and Al pointed out, every cost has gone up since the pandemic, and it's gone up exponentially. Labor has gone up 60–70% since the start of the pandemic. We were forced to raise our labor rates an unbelievable amount just to keep help. And of course, fuel has gone through the roof. Fuel has doubled. Now starting to at least even out a bit, but it's still way up. All other costs, whether it's steel, whether it's, as you can see, the price of recyclables, where they used to be, we used to pay you $20 a ton. In this bid, we're going to be charging you, I think, $100 a ton in that neighborhood for the recyclables. So every cost has gone up, and I wanted to point out to you that this bid is not unusual in any way in the other bids that we've bid in the last 2 years. And in those 3 pages, the first page shows you the bid versus waste management. Now, I can also tell you over the past couple of years, there's been a lot of bids that only one bidder shows up. We've gotten awarded many bids where there's only one bidder that we've supplied the only bid. We're going to Pottstown tonight for another work session, which is 8,200 units, and it's a multi-million-dollar bid. It's about a $3 million a year bid, and they only got one bid from J.P. Mascaro and Sons. So getting one bid is not unusual. Getting 2 bids, okay, is really you've got 2 bids, and that's not unusual either. That 2 bids is maximum on it. A lot of these companies are struggling just to try to collect the trash and recycling that's out there. So in getting 2 bids, do not think that the second bid was just thrown in. That's a real bid for what's happening in the industry. Okay, we've shown you on the next page. Well, actually, it's on the 3rd page. We've shown you what the increases have been. These are contracts. These are contracts that we've secured over the past 2 years, and the increases from the prior contract. Okay, and as you can see, going into 2022, the increases have even gotten higher in percentage because of the rapidly escalating fuel costs and labor costs. So we wanted to show you that, and I'm sure you've been catching up on it with, if you kept an eye on other competitive bids. So what I wanted to say is that you have an extremely competitive number, okay? From 2010 to 2022, in 12 years, your price has gone up. In 12 years, your price has gone up 12%. That means from 2010 to 2022, your people basically paid the same price to have the recycling picked up, okay? And you had a trash bid by the way, that trash bid, you had Advanced Disposal picking up your trash. That Advanced Disposal is Waste Management. So the company that was picking up your trash, okay, bought Advanced Disposal, or Waste Management rather, bought the company that was picking up your trash, Advanced Disposal, and then put in a bid as Waste Management on this bid. So it's the same company. So basically, that bid was Advanced Disposal's bid was so low 5 years ago that they tripled that price. They tripled that price. So what I wanted to also show you is the second page. I went and got 5 of the most recent bids. All right. All right, and I showed you what the price per unit is. Okay. There's Allen Township. That's in Lehigh County. Hanover Township. That's in Lehigh County. Souderton and Souderton Borough, which is about your size. Maybe just a little, maybe a little less, but it's about your size. The Borough of Bath, which is that's in Northampton County. They're smaller. Borough of Sugar Notch, which is a bit smaller. That's up in Luzerne County. And finally, I showed Wyomissing Borough. Okay. Now, your services are comprehensive. These are the services you've had for quite some time. You have 1 time a week solid waste. You have 1 time a week recycling. You have yard waste for 3/4 of the year. And you pay for the disposal of trash at the landfill. And you have the processing and marketing of the recyclables. That's a separate bid item. That's in your bid. So you have five separate, you have three services and then two processing and landfill, okay? Now, your price is $33.62 on the collection side and the processing of recyclables. It comes up to $33.62 a month per resident. And if you add in what your historical tonnage is, you add in about another $7.50, it comes up to about $41 and change, okay? So your price, again, your price with collection of what we have here, and the more process and marketing and disposal. Remember we talked about the recycling. Now, you used to get $20 a ton, you're gonna be paying about $100 a ton to process the recyclables, this time around, because the recycling market has crashed. But you're going probably from $20 a unit to $41 a unit, it's double, okay? But again, what I told you is the last 10 years, your price has gone backwards. Going backwards or stayed the same the last 10, 12 years, whether it's been trash or recycled. So the market has just changed drastically. And the market's not gonna go backwards at this point, okay? Now, what I wanted to do is compare it to the five most recent bids that we have been awarded, okay? Allen Township, it says there that they're paying $29.36 a month, okay? That includes that includes the services for trash, the services for recycling, bulk collection, okay, which you have also, and also for the disposal of the trash and the processing of the trash. That's all in there for Allen Township. So you look at it and say, well, they're paying $29.36, but they're not paying $29.36. And what they're paying is they have every other week recycling. Your recycling is, if you take what your recycling cost is, it's $10.10. You bid it separate, it's $10.10. That's what we bid, okay? So that means you'd have to add $5 immediately to the $29.36, okay? And then you have the yard waste and processing of the yard waste, okay? All right, they don't have yard waste. Sourton doesn't have yard waste. We bid for the yard waste for 45 weeks. We bid about $7.25 a unit. So if you add the $5 and the $7.50, you're going to come up over what you're paying. Okay, so you have comprehensive services. So you're doing less than Allen Township. Hanover Township has 1 time a week trash and 1 time a week recycling, but they don't have yard waste. So if you added in the $7, basically the $7.25 or it's about $7.25, that comes up to $47.50 for Hanover Township. All right. The borough of Southerton, they don't have yard waste, so they're paying if you add the $7.50, they're paying about 43. Okay. The borough of Bath, they're paying 31.20 again, but they only have they have 1 time a week trash, 1 time a week recycling, but they have 1 time a week municipal solid waste. They don't have any recycling. They don't have any yard waste. So if you add that, you're gonna come up with $10.10, another $7.50. They're gonna be paying about $48 if they had what you had, if they had the same comprehensive services. All right. And then Sugar Notch only has municipal solid waste. We just got this bid a couple weeks ago. All right. They more than doubled also. They're $30.59 just for solid waste. So if you added the recycling and the trash, the recycling and the yard waste, they would be over $45. Okay. Or 40, yeah, about $45. And then finally, you see again, I talked to you. You're actually in these 6 examples, you have the lowest cost with the comprehensive services that you provide. And I really don't know from this standpoint you'd want anything less. This is what you've been giving to your customers for years. These are the services that you've been providing to your customers for years. And obviously, if I'm sitting where you're sitting, it's not easy to tell your residents, my God, your costs are going to, I don't know what you're charging your residents right now for all the services you're giving. But you're going to have to hike their rates considerably. But if you're gonna hike the rates, you certainly don't wanna cut services. You don't wanna do that. Because no matter what you do, you're gonna have to hike the rates. So, I would certainly recommend that you keep this comprehensive service you have.
Excuse me, what are white goods?
White goods are in your contract.
What
In other
is
words,
that? I don't know what that
white
is.
goods are refrigerators, stoves. Yeah, okay. And your bulk is in your contract, I believe also.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you have an excellent contract. I didn't answer any questions you have, so.
Any questions? All right, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
I have one objection on the Sunshine Act. Is that document available under the right to know? Is that document public?
You would need to submit a right to know request and then.
I
check
got,
with
I
our
know.
solicitor.
Is it available?
We'd have to check with our solicitor.
Okay, let's discuss the bid that we have and go from there. I guess I'll start this off. I guess looking at 23 compared to 22, obviously, it's a huge increase. In all three aspects, the recycling, solid waste, and yard waste. But then I noticed in 24 and 25, there are only a couple percent increases for those particular years. I just wonder, are you anticipating that your costs are not going to elevate after this year, or after next year? And that in future years, you suspect, at least for the next 2 years after that they won't increase as much?
Well, I would say this, okay? Right now, inflation's running somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10%, 8% inflation's running. But as you know, fuel is dissipating. Fuel is coming down. I believe, we feel the economy is going to steady. And again, prices have stayed steady for so long, and they've just escalated so fast that we believe that we know a recession. We feel that a recession is on the way. Generally, with a recession, prices don't go backwards. They just don't. What they do is with a recession, they're gonna settle down. So that I'm sure that's what we're taking into consideration. And also, this board has always operated with 5-year contracts. So we're laying out what we feel is what we need over the next 5 years.
There's a 3-year contract.
3 years.
3-year
Yeah,
contract.
but there's 2 option years, correct?
There's the option, but that doesn't,
No, it doesn't, but there's.
Yeah,
this
the only
board-
time I
This
know-
board, this board has always taken the option, so you have a 5-year contract in front of you, should you choose the
I
option.
thought we only taken it once because of COVID.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I don't see, it only goes out through 25.
but the bid documents specifically do allow for 2 1-year
Right.
extensions. And we've always included that as part of our bid
Do
document.
those options have an escalation clause?
Yes, based off the consumer
Yes.
price index.
Yeah.
Oh, for the 4th and 5th year?
Yes.
Yes.
So, I mean, for comparison's sake, here's the percentages that we went up based off the consumer price index to extend the contract this year. So it was 5.23% for recycling, 3.69% for solid waste, and 3.69% for yard waste. And that was based off the consumer price index.
Okay. So that we would do the same for this upcoming contract?
The option is in there at the end of 25, we could extend 1 year, and then 1 year again at the end of 26. That's up to the committee and council's feelings at that point in time. But we specifically, I know what Bill's referring to, we specifically chose to extend it because it was gonna expire during COVID, and everything was happening virtually, you know, having this meeting in this type of atmosphere versus over Zoom is much more conducive to having a conversation.
Dave, if I can say, obviously, we're gonna kick this over to finance tomorrow, and then we're gonna have to look at it from a budgetary standpoint. You know, from an award standpoint, I don't know that we have a lot of choice. We've had 2 bids, obviously JP Mascaro is the lowest of the bids. I wish I could come up with, what else can we do to make it any cheaper? I don't have any arguments, I'm trying to figure out how to argue with them. I mean, I guess you could say we could reduce the services and you could go to something like every other week for recyclables, but to their point, I just don't know that the community is willing to accept that either. I know the residents don't wanna hear this, but when you look at the numbers, our trash is pretty cheap of what we're charging them. We're charging $250 a quarter,
No, a year.
a year, $250 a year.
$250 a quarter.
So, you know, Michelle said she went back and we had run some of these numbers, and Michelle got numbers for people in the community, in other areas in Berks, $76 a month.
And that's for private,
That was
so
the
not
low.
not through municipal, they live in a municipality where they must contract for private
So
services.
$76 a month, which comes out to $228 a quarter, which comes out to $912 a year, compared to ours, $250 a year. You know, she also got numbers up to as high as $125 a month, which would be $375 a quarter, or $1,500 a year, compared to our $250 a year. You know, even at the price of where we need to be break even and not supplement this, the number is $131 a quarter, $524 a year, or $43 a month, compared to $76 a month, compared to $125 a month. So, you know, the unfortunate part is the good news is there hasn't been a price increase in a long time. I think it was 2009.
15
2007.
years.
So the borough has not passed on to the residents a price increase, and they've been absorbing the nominal CPI price increases for the last 15 years. That's the good news. The bad news is now you're faced with, what's it gonna cost? You know, the bottom line is that if we would maintain it as it is, we'd have to come up with over $600,000 to supplement
Is that the,
483,200 the first year.
for the first year.
So the other thing that's not included in the actual contract cost, there's other expenses the borough incurs annually. There's the contract itself, but then there's landfill costs, bags, tags, cans. There's a portion that goes towards the newsletter for education and outreach, supplies, Earth Day, and then the actual transfer cost. Your transfer and landfill cost are your second biggest expenses outside of the contract. So even if you look at just the quarterly, monthly, whatever you wanna break it down to, rate based off the contract amount, there's other costs with operating the program.
You know, it's a huge percentage and doubling it, but when you look at the dollars, and I'm not taking away from the fact that it's a hardship for some, but to have your trash, your recycling, your yard waste picked up for $131 a quarter is really not unreasonable.
no.
And especially compared to what other municipalities are paying. I just don't know how, looking at the big picture of the borough, I don't know how the borough can justify absorbing costs without passing it on to the consumer. Now, I'd love to be able to come up with a rationale to figure out how to you know, to Mr. Jady's point, to smooth that out. I don't know what the solution. I just don't know how to do that.
A couple issues that have been brought up before, you know, and certainly our residents would squawk. I mean, if we went to a private service, number one, we know how that worked for the city of Reading. You know, that became horrible.
Yes.
And plus, I don't believe our residents would like to see trash trucks running through this borough 6 days a week, you know, on a daily basis, going places. You know, I think overall, yeah, there's gonna be some, but they could be faced with what it is, you know. The complaint can be made, I guess, is, why do, I only have 2 bags of trash I put out a week where Mr. Smith is putting out, 10 bags a week, well, or 6 bags. Well, you live in a community, and a community is one. I don't have children that go to Wyomissing School District, but yet I've been paying the same per capita tax that people who have 3, 4 children are going. It's part of being in a community.
Yeah, but you can't do anything about that.
Excuse me.
The first part is of course to recommend, approve, or deny the bid contract. Are we in a position to accept that?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask JP Mascaro a question?
You cannot, it's not
No.
public comment.
Okay, well, I thought it would be a healthy conversation.
I have a motion to accept the Mascaro contract for
I think
3
you're
years.
just you're
I'm recommending
recommending
it, we have
to the council.
to the council, right.
I don't think finance has to approve it, I think it has to go to council, I think finance is gonna have the discussion
Weighing
as
on.
to what the charge is
What
gonna
the
be.
Yeah, it's more of a
Right.
creativity.
I think that's a different
Yeah.
issue.
That's the second part, which I don't think we can do today.
No, that's gonna go to finance.
Exactly, so.
So I think you're making I'll make a motion to recommend to council to accept the JP Mascaro contract.
Second.
Second, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Negative say no. The ayes have it.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you hearing us.
Thank you.
We don't like what you have to say, but. So can am I allowed to ask Ms. Sauer a question?
Yes.
I am, okay. So, is there other ways, based on your experience with other municipalities, are there other creative ways that you've seen in your experience to redistribute the costs to the residents as opposed to a flat fee?
Well, the first thing is do you do this through your taxes?
No.
You just send a fee out.
It's part of a utility
Quarterly
bill.
fee.
Yeah, it's a quarterly fee, like your sewer fees. and
Right.
such.
It goes on with our water bill.
Yeah.
You
The
pay
sewer fees
your
are
water, you
measured.
pay your sewer, you pay your trash, your
That's-
recycling.
That's the best way to do it. That's the best way to do it. I can just say this, from being in the industry so long, I've been in it 40 years, Al's been in it 31 years. These fellas have been in it lesser, obviously, they're a lot younger. But, I'll tell you, they run our division. These two basically run our division. They're doing a great job. They're doing an absolute great job. We do Wyomissing, we're very proud to do here. We do Eulenberg, we're doing South Heidelberg, we're doing Lower Heidelberg, we're doing so many communities, not only in Berks County, but all over eastern PA. But I can tell you that right now, when I've looked at costs in the general economy, trash costs have remained level for so long, and from 2009 was basically the last big recession, if you can recall, and they stayed very, very low until the last bid we had here, which was basically you took the options. It was 5 years ago, but now we're in a new economy, and as you know, you go to anywhere, everything is going up. So when I went to Sugar Notch and Sugar Notch more than doubled, I tried to tell them, we have to bring in, we're bringing in 3 different trucks into this borough every week. One for trash, one for recycling, one for yard waste, okay? That's 13 trips a month, 13 trips a month. And when you look at it, you say it's $41 a month, and that's including the disposal at the landfill, that's including the processing and the recycling. That's basically, the truck has to come through here for basically $3.
And I
Do you understand? So these costs, it's just like your cable costs and everything else, it just, the costs are really at a different.
And that's gonna be our job to try to communicate that to our residents to make sure they understand that. But my question to you is,
Yeah,
in your experience,
yes.
is there another creative way for us to pass the cost on to residents? In your experience, have you seen that in other places? Has anything been successful, or is the flat fee to all
Well,
households?
here's the thing, you can, this is the thing you can do to pass it on to residents. What you might do is you have a 3-year bid that's very low. What you might do is go up a certain amount in the first year, and then the second year bump it up, and then in the third year bump it up.
But
Go
so your
that
answer is no, you don't know,
Yeah,
you don't have any creative suggestions for
It's,
us?
honestly, it's usually the per unit price.
Okay.
The only thing I wanna add to Sam is, people take for granted that when we perform this contract, there are millions of dollars worth of equipment on the street. That stuff just keeps going up with insurance, it's a big investment. And that's frankly why there's not a lot of bidders anymore doing this, because it's a tough job. It's so capital intensive.
Can I ask a question? Are there any municipalities
Yeah.
that pay, that the resident pays by their bag? That you know of? We did that in Limestone Hills years ago. No? Okay.
I think the
Mary Ann, I can check with Jean Meeks at the county about that. She would know better than anyone.
Okay. Well, of the contracts you have.
Yeah.
No, we don't have any, we don't have
The
any.
problem with that is, how do you monitor that, you know? You have
It's
to-
very
People
easy.
have to buy the bags.
You gotta buy the bags.
That's
Oh,
what we did,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then our guys, our accountants on the back of the trucks figuring out whether we can take it, how many. It's not
Yeah, you only
fun.
Right,
pick
it
up
wouldn't
three
be-
this
It
Saturday.
wouldn't be you, it would be the
Yeah.
borough would have to,
Right.
you know, they'd be paying the borough for the bags.
So you could buy bags below or something?
No.
Well, they used to sell them at the store.
Well,
White.
exactly,
I
and
know.
for one guy, it's a new way back.
And the borough sold them,
Yeah.
but
Alright.
Okay, well, then we should probably table the recommendation regarding how much to pass on.
Well, I don't know that this could, I mean, you can certainly have.
That's
I
gonna be more,
heard-
that's gonna be more of a finance.
I
Well,
thought-
I mean,
I
it's
think it
on
would
the
probably-
agenda here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would probably be a good thing for this committee to have some input from a trash and recycle standpoint. And it doesn't mean it's gonna be what the finance committee's gonna end up recommending based on what we can afford to do. But yeah, I think this committee should make a recommendation to finance, and finance can use that as part of the recommendation to council. So, yeah, because since I'm gonna sit there tomorrow morning at finance, I'd like to have some backing from, get the input from here. What do you got, you know, what do you, Dave, what do you people think about doing it?
I need more information to give that, I wanna, how much do we collect every year?
Right there.
So, no, that's actually incorrect, because that 198 is your 6250, and that's quarterly. So
I
you
didn't
would,
even see this,
you would-
okay?
I sent this to you in that email the other day.
I didn't get this.
This is what I sent you on Sunday.
No, you sent me actually what you sent me.
Because
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
This is what I wanted.
Yeah.
So we would have to raise the annual rate to $502 and change to completely break even.
500.
So what do you, so currently you're collecting $859,000.
$10 a week.
I'm sorry?
$10 a
But
week.
you'd be
so
doubling
it's
the rate.
doubling. right?
Yes.
You'd be
Yeah,
doubling the rate from
correct.
250 to 500.
But again, keep in mind, that's not just the contract cost escalating, that is including all of those other expenses.
Right.
Including landfill transfer fees, everything else. The other unknown to this is that performance grant under annual income. That's a little bit of a crapshoot. Some years we've gotten 20, some years we get 90. That's an unknown, and there's no guarantee that the state's gonna continue to provide that program in the future.
Have you heard anything as far as the state You guys heard any scuttlebutt?
I mean, they've been coming down, right?
Well, it's open, it's gonna open, I've already gotten the forms for next
did you?
year, yeah.
I was just wondering if you had heard any
Yeah, yeah.
rumors to what they may do.
We try to stay away from DEP.
So when Keith and I were briefly talking about this
Correct.
last week,
Correct.
if we do nothing, if we keep the rate at $250 a year, keep your quarterly billing rate at $62.50, we would have to take $483,000 out of the projected refuse fund balance, which would be $650,000 at the end of the year. Which does not leave you with a lot of money.
No, not for 2 years left on the contract.
No. So I mean, there are options to take that 250 and maybe next year raise it to 350 or 400.
So what what we're gonna have to look at is, you know, and as Jennifer pointed out, I mean, she's right. Currently and in the future, you know, for the past, the borough, through funding from tax dollars, has been subsidizing the cost of the trash removal.
Right.
Now the question is, what's the tolerance level of how much can be tolerated to continue to subsidize, and at what level?
Right.
And over what period of time?
The taxpayers have been paying for it one way or the other. We just
Oh,
haven't.
sure,
Right.
sure.
They just don't know how much
Sure,
it's costing
sure.
them.
But now the question is how much more,
Sure.
Just using that money, yeah.
how much more in the big budget can it be subsidized is the issue. And
Yeah,
that's gonna be the larger scope.
And should be subsidized.
Well, the interesting piece to that is, think about it, if it's coming out of your overall taxpayer dollars, your commercial properties are paying for it and they are required to contract for their own private services. So, yes, I think to some extent, you may wanna consider continuing to subsidize a portion of it,
Because
not
what it
all
would
of
be
it.
then, it would be a budgeted loss of revenue.
Yes.
It would be a negative revenue effect.
I do think realistically, I think we have to accept these increases and not hold back here. I mean, not increasing since 2007. I don't know if I agree with that concept.
I know I don't.
To me, it's not realistic.
Right.
So,
Because
and
sooner or
now
later,
it's
you're gonna
gonna
be in a
bite us in
situation
the
like
ass
this.
now, but
Right.
Or
that's
worse.
so be it. But I do like the idea maybe going somewhere from between 250 and 500. Maybe jump it up,
Yeah, it's incremental.
you know.
Right. I do think you have to educate the residents though, so they understand that there is that the pricing, what the price increase
Oh,
was.
absolutely.
And what did it turn out to be, 67%?
No, no. Overall, for next year, it's 147%.
If you would pass the full cost off,
Yeah. I know.
yes. Melissa and I were talking through last week there it is, some talking points, you know, that we internally could talk to other municipalities to actually have some type of rate comparison, what's Spring paying, what's West Reading paying. Look at where it's an owner choice, so if you are allowed to contract privately, get some of the private hauler rates. Make the point, again, we haven't raised rate in 15 years, point out the benefits that, you know, at least with Mascaro, we get to keep the flexible plastics program, that alone would have been a nightmare, having to switch back. You know, if you, again, break it out and look at it, actual contract dollars, it is less than $20 a month more someone is paying. I get it's not the rate environment with everything else going on with inflation, but if you're looking at somebody on a fixed income, it is not a significant monthly increase.
Currently though, you're saying that it's $993, $993,000, all in. Current.
Yes,
And the proposal to break even would be 1,659.
yes.
That's not 147%, that's 67%.
I'm just looking at their contracts.
Just, yeah, but that's just their portion.
That's not the
Right,
total
That's not
cost.
everything.
He's
Yes.
looking at the total cost.
I'm looking at the total cost.
Yeah, which I did, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's the
you're
total
right.
cost is not 147, their increase.
Well, what is then you're saying, what's the overall cost?
67, because you're not including that other income.
Right. So the total cost to the the borough's gonna get charged $1.659 million.
Right,
That's our cost.
Yes.
Now the question is, how much do we pass on to the residents?
And you can see this
And
year,
how do you allocate it?
we took 133, well, we're planning to take 133,000 out of that refuse fund. Its fund balance as of the end of August is actually almost 800,000.
Right.
So we do use it, the question is, how much do we want
Great.
to use it?
Breaking even would be $524 a year, $131 a quarter, correct?
That would be for the
Year two.
second year, yeah.
So you're looking at, in order to break even the borough, you're looking at around $500 a year. You're doubling it.
And what's the-
Right.
how about if we propose maybe $90 a quarter?
So you're bumping it $27.50.
Right. From 250 to 360.
And how does that affect the subsidy?
Well, that's the
Yeah.
number you'd have to run.
That's what
I
we
think
have to
what we'd
run.
have to do.
Yeah, I don't know.
Michelle, I
we'd have
think
to
what
run
we'd have to do, and I realize there's not any
big
time to do
increase.
this.
I have a spreadsheet I can. plug
Yeah,
the
I was gonna
numbers
say,
into.
we should plug in,
Different,
rates.
Thank
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, right, you'd have to plug it in to see, let's just take different numbers
Right.
and see what the effect would be.
Yeah, I think maybe come up with 6 different scenarios,
okay,
going from what it currently is to the full amount,
To 500, yeah,
500.
yeah.
start at, I'm sorry, I would start at 275 and just run it up all the way,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's what I.
Because that's gonna be the number it's gonna be,
Yes.
what can we absorb as a subsidy over what period of time, year 1, 2, and 3. And I agree, I mean, I think it's a huge jump for consumers. It's gonna be hard to swallow. However, I think one of the things we need to do to make sure that the residents understand it is it's still pretty cheap.
Yeah,
And how long it's been since it increased.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Well, I do, they only look in the moment.
Oh, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I wish people would care about that, but they don't.
Right.
What have you done for me lately?
Right.
Yeah.
So what's your proposal? What
Oh, I don't have one.
Get more
Well, we're
information.
gonna
Yeah.
table,
We're gonna see what the numbers are. We're
Yeah.
gonna
I'm
the
gonna run
numbers.
6 different scenarios,
Okay.
anywhere between 275 a year up to the full 502 a year,
Okay.
and see what that looks
So
like.
you'll have.
See what the offset would need to be from the refuse fund balance to make each of
Right.
those numbers work.
Right. so we're gonna
And if you
table
can
that
put the,
motion.
can you also put the
Table.
subsidy
Per amount.
Yeah, we don't have to decide
per
today
resident
or
or
tomorrow
household or how?
what next year's rate's going to be,
Correct,
other than
Right.
for budgetary purposes.
correct,
Yes.
so I mean, we could even table that at finance tomorrow just to give us a little bit more time.
I think it should
We
be a
just need to-
discussion though.
Yeah, we need to, it would be nice to have some feedback,
Yeah,
just being that finance is at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
right, that's what I mean.
That's not giving us a lot of time.
Exactly.
No, but finance might want you to look at it from a different perspective than, so having both perspectives at refuse recycling next time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the only
I'm
thing we
gonna guess
need
no only because I'm sitting here. And I know
Well,
that-
yeah, I don't know.
No, but somebody else from finance
Yeah.
might, you're right.
The only thing we definitely should take action on is the contract itself, which we did, and which council
Right,
relied
yeah,
on
right,
last week,
yeah.
so.
So we're going to table a motion regarding increases.
Yep.
We're gonna get some.
But we need a
clarification on
motion to
that.
table.
We agree with that?
Yeah, you need a motion to table.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion second. A motion and second to table the recommendation. All, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any negatives, say no. The ayes have it.
Should we have,
Thank you.
should we have another, when's your next trash meeting?
At the end of September, October?
Oh,
This
it
is a
is.
special meeting.
Okay, it is, okay.
Mm,
All right. So then you have time.
Well, we'll make
Right.
this
In the meantime, then we'll look at the numbers, and then at the
It's
next meeting, we come
October
together and
19th,
Sorry?
October 19th.
Okay.
We should have a number by then.
Oh, you'll, yeah, you'll.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have two finance meetings between now and then.
Okay.
Next year, it's just gonna be a
Right.
question.
Yeah,
finance has to throw it out before it gets to the budget.
Any other comments
Well,
regarding
remember?
rates?
Yeah, but we don't live in.
Okay, is there any old business? New business?
This does not need a motion to agenda because it's just informational. Gene Meek sent out an email this morning that the annual county paper shredding event will be held on October 8th. The hazardous waste collection will be held on October 15th. Both are at the Berks County Ag Center located at 1238 County Welfare Road in Leesport and will be from 8 o'clock a.m. to noon by appointment only. You need to go on the County of Berks Solid Waste website to register. And yes, that information is on the website.
Oh, good.
And that'll probably be in the paper, I would guess.
I would think so.
Where did I read somebody is having a community shredding?
No. I have my own
Ross
shredder.
Rossi.
That's
Ross.
Ray Arsaw, yeah. And it didn't say it was limited to his constituents.
Right.
Yeah, it's kinda like anybody can, residential can take stuff out.
Any new business? Meeting adjourned, thank you. Yeah, could I have that one? I didn't have, that was a valuable piece of,
Good job, David.
I will email
Well.
it to you.
not having all the information, but that's fine, yeah.
We got as much as we could.
Because I have to get that in my mind.
Oh, I actually have the one that we have. Yeah.
It's the same method as the bid, right?
Cheryl Wolf,
All this was in the bid, right?
No, none of that was in the bid. The bid